Give me a second. I want to make sure that this is right. The settings on this damn microphone. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
What are we going ahead with?
Okay, go ahead with where you were wanting to start with how you met Garrett.
It was like 2017. And so it's been a couple years or whatever, not even a couple years, whatever. Whenever this whole event happened, is like the next time that I'd even heard anything from Garrett. So he hit me up and was like, wanting to know if him and Nicole could come out and ride horses with us. And I was like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever, you know. So him and Nicole show up out at my dad's house out here, and we hang out for the afternoon, ride horses. The next day, they get up and they leave, you know. So everything seemed to be kind of cool, whatever.
So you don't remember? Okay, so in reference to that, like,
yeah.
So was it a week? Was it 2 weeks before he came back out there with Ashley, or was it within the same time frame, like within days?
I'd say it was probably, you know, because all that time was like runs together for me, you know. So it's just like it'd be a safe bet to be like it was a week or so later, week and a half later, something like that.
Okay.
I think, you know, like I told you before, I'm not really all that going to be all that useful for you on dates, and I could just tell you the events that happened, you know. So
okay. Were they? Do you know what kind of car they were in? I think I asked you that before.
When Nicole and Garrett showed up, they was in some like little gray foreign car. I didn't pay too much attention to it, but
was it like a Scion?
Yeah, it could have been. It was like a little 2-door gray car.
Okay.
I remember the front bumper was missing on it.
Okay.
And he went to this big elaborate story of how they was going. I don't know. They was out in the country, hit a deer or whatever. It just recently happened, or I don't know. You know, the dude's so full of shit that, you know. So, but anyhow, so when I meet Nicole, you know, they leave.
What were they like with each other while they were there? What was she like?
I don't know. It's just kind of weird because she was like, "Hey, do you care if I sit in your truck?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." You know what I mean? So she was in the truck, and Garrett and I was in the barn, and we was getting horses saddled up, and we was, you know, getting ready to go for a ride. And then he was asking her if she wanted to go. Well, she didn't want to go with us on the horses, so she just hung out there at the truck, you know, that was pulled up by the barn. So, like, I didn't even think nothing about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, they seemed to get along. So Garrett and I went riding for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, something like that. We got back to the barn, unsaddled the horses. They hung out the rest of the evening. The next day, you know, when daylight broke, they were like, "All right, well, we're leaving. Heading out. Hey, thanks for having us." So they leave, and then I would say, you know, whatever, week and a half, 2 weeks at the most, Garrett hits me up again and wants to know if he can bring Ashley out, if him and Ashley can come and hang out. I'm like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. So when him and Ashley show up, it's later on in the evening, and you know, my first thought when I walked in, I was like, dang, they're really high, because when, you know, Ashley comes in behind Garrett, she's, you know, really closed off, really quiet, has a book bag in her hand, like has her arms wrapped around this book bag, you know, has his jacket on, and, you know, with a hoodie, and she's not making eye contact with nobody, standoffish, you know, just I don't know, you know. So I just took it as in the, you know, they were high. But, you know, like looking back at it, it's like, yeah, that's really not what's going on. So anyways, later on in the evening, going into the morning, my buddy Chris calls. He's like, "Hey man, I need your help down here." So I'm like, "All right, we'll be there in a minute." Load up, go down the road, and that's when the girl at the time that I was seeing, or whatever you want to call that.
So when you left, Garrett went with you?
Yeah, Garrett and Ashley got in the truck with us. and went down to my Chris's.
Oh, okay. So Ashley went with you down there.
Yeah, he came down to my buddy Chris's with us. So
Was it like she went, or was it like just Garrett? How, I mean, what was the vibe now
like
looking?
he was like
Was he telling her let's go, or was she like,
yeah, he was like, hey, let's go. And we get in the truck. And it was just like, I don't know, like it's that lifestyle, like when guys have their ladies around, he's really bossy. You know what I mean? It's just like you're gonna do. I don't know. It's just a weird world to be a part of. So you really don't even think nothing about it. You know,
uh-huh.
people are already weird. So introduce drugs into the situation, and now people really got weird. So uh, anyways, we load up in the truck. We head down to my buddy Chris's. What we went there for is to help him fix his well pump. So his well pump quit running on him.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it going for him again. Chris was like, come on inside, hang out for a minute, whatever. So it's probably 3 o'clock in the morning now, maybe 4 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez.
Yeah. So we're in the kitchen. Garrett, myself, and my buddy Chris is in the kitchen, and the girls are like in the living room, which the kitchen and the living room are connected. And then Angel stands up and she's like, hey, Jeff, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm like, yeah, not right now, man. Just let us finish doing what we're doing. I want to get the fuck out of here. She's like, no, I need to talk to you right now. I'm like, what the fuck is that important that you need to interrupt what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
So just give me a minute and we can go out and talk, whatever you want to do. She's like, no, I really need to talk to you right now. And at this time, Angel's never been that calm with me.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Usually she's like really bossy, really demanding, tell me to go fuck myself because I'm not jumping when she says to jump and all this other cool stuff. So I'm like, something happened. So I'm like, what? What's going on, man? She kind of like pulls me off to the other side of the kitchen and she's like, Ashley's telling me that she can't get the fuck away from Garrett, that Garrett forced her to come with him. She's been trying to get away from him for the last fucking week and she's scared. I'm like, what's she scared of? Is he just being mean or like, no, Garrett killed some girl and now it's making Ashley go everywhere with him, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, yeah, bullshit. So at the same time, the news comes on and lo and behold, it's breaking like news about they discovered this body in Newton County.
Do you know what time of day that was? Was it
That,
morning, like the morning news, or was it the noon news, or?
it was the morning news. So it had to have been about 5, 6 o'clock by that time.
So this was like on a Sunday then, because Nicole was found around 2 o'clock on Saturday the 30th. So this had to have been early in the hours of Sunday, I guess, maybe.
Like, so I don't know if this is like the breaking news or if this is like news that was like, hey, we're still investigating this. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I just know that it came on the news. The moment Angel was telling me what Ashley was telling her. And I'm like, motherfucker, man.
Were you able at that point to put two and two together as to who the girl was?
No, because I didn't like see a picture or none of that shit. And I really wasn't even familiar with her name until all this stuff took place. Like afterwards, you know what I mean? Like when things started unfolding in court, and then I was like, oh, that was her name. Her name was Nicole. Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so then it just started like things started clicking. And
So you see it on the news, and you and Angel you're not in the
right.
same room. You're not in the same room with Ashley and Garrett.
Well, the kitchen and the living room, you'd have to see how the kitchen and living room are laid out, So it's like an open floor concept.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of distance between us, maybe 20 feet between us. Well, when Angel comes into the kitchen and she's like wanting to she's like, I need to talk to you now. You know what I mean? So when I'm over there talking to her, I look over and Garrett's heading towards Ashley and her back is to him. And he leans over the couch and he grabs her by the back of her jacket and her hoodie and grabs her by her, what would be, I think would be her right shoulder. and pulls her back and starts whispering in her ear, and you can see him getting madder and madder and madder, you know.
Why do you think he did? Why do you think he did that?
I think, well, looking back at it now, I believe that he knew that Ashley had said something to Angel.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's why Angel was in there talking to me. So when I come in there, and I'm like, "Hey, motherfucker," you know what I mean? Like, you holding this girl against her will? You know? He's like, "No, it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is." She jumps up off the couch. She's fucking bawling. And she's like, "You won't let me get away from him. I can't get the fuck away from him." I'm like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You're getting away from him." And then I asked him, I'm like, did you kill that girl that was on the fucking news, man? Are you involved in that? He's like, "It's not what you think it is." I'm like, "All right, I don't give a fuck what it is, but this is what's happening. Ashley's leaving with Angel and I. We're going to take her back to where she lives, and you're leaving, dude. You know what I mean? She's not going with you." And he's like, "Just let me talk to her for a minute." And then somebody probably pulled a pistol out and stuck it in his face.
You said somebody. You said somebody probably.
Yeah. No. Well, then that's when I pulled a pistol out of my pocket and I stuck it in his face. And I was like, "Hey, you're not talking to anybody else here, man. You're fucking leaving." You know. So, and then so Garrett walks out. I'm not sure what direction he goes, and that's when I ask Ashley. I'm like, "Where do you live? Where are you from?" I don't even know where she's from. He was like, "I need to go back to Lafayette. I need to go to my grandma's house. I need to go to my grandma's house. I need to get back to my grandma. I need to get back to my grandma." I'm like, "Just chill out. What's her address? You know what I mean? So we can get you back there, and you can explain what's going on. You can call the cops or whatever it is you got to do when you get back with your grandma. Have your grandma take you in, do whatever." And I was like, "Or unless you need us to take you to the cops right now, like whatever you need, whatever you want done, we'll get it done." And she's like, "Just take me back to my grandma's house." So we took her over to Lafayette, and we pulled up in front of a house. Got out, said thanks and goodbye. And so that was the last time I heard from her or Garrett.
So did she?
Until I got subpoenaed to go to court and to pretty much tell them the same thing that I'm telling you guys.
And did you get to tell it all in court?
I did, but so like when I got on the stand, the prosecutor was just like trying to well, yeah, aren't you are you not incarcerated at this time? I'm like, "Well, yeah." And she was like, "So you're a convicted felon and you've been convicted of, oh, here, let's see." And she flips open her folder. So she was just trying to discredit me in every kind of way to anybody that was listening to it,
Right.
Which is her job, I guess, you know what I mean? But still the fact of the matter is like, what am I gaining by being here? I didn't sign up. I didn't like write you guys and be like, "Hey, I got some juicy information for you." No, it was, I get woke up one night and told to pack my stuff that Newton County was there to get me. I didn't even know that I was going.
So when you got to Newton County from when they transported you, did they take you to the courthouse or what they do?
Well, they took me to the jail first, and then ironically, when I get to the jail, they put me in a holding cell, and so when we get there, everybody is asleep, obviously, and then like that morning when they bring Tyler out, I like go to the door, and I can see through the window that they just brought Garrett through, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, why am I at the same jail as him?" And then I started like putting things together. I'm like, "Oh man, dude."
Did he see you?
Yeah, he seen me, and through the window, he's like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing here, bro?" And I was like, "Oh, you fucking bitch." I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
Hey, yeah.
So then
It wasn't until that morning when I kept asking to talk to like some sort of brass sergeant, somebody that knew what was going on, why I was there. They they brought me some paperwork saying that I was subpoenaed to testify in this trial for Ashley, and I was just like, "Oh, what the fuck?" So you guys come and pick me up on a Friday and hold me here all weekend. And then that Sunday is when Ashley's attorney came in and she interviewed me there at the jail. Uh, yeah, she just it just felt like her attorney was just there for the simple fact of saying that she was there to interview me. She wasn't taking notes. Like she wasn't like, hey, are you willing to testify or
Do you even
anything like that.
do you even remember what she asked you?
Pretty much, and she asked me like what Garrett and Ashley were doing at my house. Like, how did they end up there? Did I know of anything that happened before Garrett and Ashley got there? And I was like, no, I thought they were coming out to hang out, and we was gonna go ride horses again, like the last time that Garrett was there. I didn't, no, I didn't know why they was there. So
So when after Garrett left, did you have a chance to even talk with Ashley? Like what had happened? Did she describe to you what had transpired? What was her demeanor? Like what was she like?
well, in between her crying the whole time, and when you could get her to catch her breath and to talk, she just kept saying that he killed Nicole, and that she thinks that he's going to kill her, and that she just needs to get away from him. She never like went into detail about how Nicole got killed or where Nicole got killed. She just said that he killed Nicole, and she thinks that he's gonna kill her now, and she couldn't get away from him.
Uh-huh.
She just needed to get back to her grandma's house. She just kept repeating herself. So it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until later. I mean, when I'm talking later, I'm talking like 18 months later that it was like, wow, it's a lot deeper than I thought it was.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then when you see all the people that were involved, and then all the other bullshit that you're like, damn, I don't understand how there's just a lot of unanswered questions on my
Right.
part. It's like I just don't get it. I
Right.
don't know. So
So did Garrett when you confronted him, did he what I mean, how resistant was he to leave without her, or did he just go willingly? Or I mean, I understand that you pulled a gun on him, but
his
before
whole
you
tune changed. You know what I mean? I didn't give him an opportunity to try to bow up or try to resist or any of that shit. I was pretty aggressive with him, and he knew that I meant business about it. And I'm not trying to sound tough or anything like that. It's just like, but he just knew that his options were limited. You know,
uh-huh.
and he asked 3 or 4 times, "Can I just talk to her before I leave? I'll leave. Can I just talk to her before I leave?" And I asked Ashley, I said, "Do you want to fucking talk to him?" She said, "No, I don't have nothing to fucking say to you, Garrett. Just fucking leave and leave me alone. I don't want to be with you. I didn't want to be with you, and I'm not gonna be with you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And what was his reaction to that?
he just kept telling her how much he loved her. "I love you. This is all a misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I love you." He's like, "I don't know what you're trying to do right now." He was just trying to smooth things over good enough to where he thought he could manipulate his way back into her good graces somehow. But he wasn't going to manipulate his way back into my good graces. That's a fact. You know what I mean? He's like, "Dude, you're leaving, and she's not going with you. If she wants to go with you, that's fine. That's her decision. But if she's telling me she don't want to go with you, I'm not allowing you to force her to go anywhere. That's over with." And
Mhm.
she's been sitting here telling me the whole time that you forced her to go. So
Yeah. He had done some pretty awful things to her.
yeah, like you know, now that the time has went by and people have learned more things, like more things that have came out. Yeah, he has done some pretty horrible things to that girl. Even prior to this whole thing with Nicole, he was mean to that girl. You know what I mean? He was controlling, he was possessive. Like you should have heard him when he was in jail in Boone County, was me talking to her on the phone, telling her what kind of piece of trash she is, and she's probably out fucking his buddies, and that she'll get hers when he gets out. I'm like, dude, you're sitting there saying you love this girl, and you're just, you know, doing everything you can to threaten her on the phone while you're locked up. I mean, I don't get it, man.
Mhm.
You know? And I was like, you talk all tough on this phone. I was like, but when you get off that phone, man, you don't say nothing to anybody. Matter of fact, they seen you get drug off in the cell and get beat up. You know,
So
I
how was
mean,
he how okay, so how was he talking
so
to her on the phone? Was
he
she
would just
Was
he
she
would
on?
just be
Go ahead.
he would just be calling her names, telling her that she's a whore, that she's a piece of trash, and she's probably out fucking everybody, and that he wanted to see his kid and all this other shit, and just telling her, oh, that's cool, I'll get even when I get out.
Well, how was it that okay, 'cause I'm just trying to do the timeline because I know that they were in Newton County Jail together.
Yeah.
And then at some point, like 6 months later, she gets out on bond. So was she
Yeah.
out on bond before trial? Like,
No, no, listen, I'm talking about that. He was talking to her like that in Boone County in like
oh,
2017. Yeah.
okay. This wasn't
No,
during
I was
that time.
never. No, it was no. Hell no. I wouldn't be standing there listening to that dude talk on the fucking phone. He'd been getting beat up at that point, you know. So
I
yeah.
see.
So in 2017, when I met him, when he just like turned 18, and he was locked up for a possession charge in Boone County, So
Okay, so it was from there he was talking to her. Okay.
yeah, yeah, he was,
That makes sense.
So
Yeah, it's a there's a lot of there was a that's how I even got involved in all this because there was so many unanswered. It just didn't make any sense with all these people. And the
right.
more the last 8, 9 months of this, the stuff that I've gathered and collected and been able to connect the dots,
Yeah,
it's
there's
pretty remarkable the stuff that has come out.
Yeah, and the sad thing about human beings is they'll always change the story every time they tell it. They always want to add just a little bit more to it, or take something away from it, or they want to make it a little bit more extreme to it. Try to build the story up a little bit better that they was involved in this or that. And it's fucking sad because you're playing with people's lives on this. This isn't talking about stealing a fucking stick of gum or stealing a car or a dope case. Somebody's people have lost their lives, and uh, in more than one way. Ashley's been killed, and not Ashley. Dang it, I'm sorry. Nicole been killed. Ashley's been locked up.
And then there's Ray.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't even know anything about that
Yeah,
until you had said something to me about it. So
yeah, and that was literally 16 days apart. So
wow.
yeah, he killed Ray, and then 16 days later, there was Nicole.
Right.
And and you don't know none of the other people that were involved, like Talitha Beckley, Jasmine Parker, Chris
Yeah.
Mathis. You had never encountered Chris Mathis in jail anywhere?
No, I've never. No, I've never even been to Newton County other than the time that I was forced to go up there. With no reason for me to go up there.
Okay.
Like I'm not that type of guy that's just like, hey, you know what? Just gonna take off on an adventure today. So I've got a lot of there's a lot of things going around here that keeps me pretty occupied.
Right.
So it's just like
Right.
So yeah, and I didn't even know how truthful Ashley was being about the whole Nicole situation. Like I didn't know if she was like just high and was just like exaggerating on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Until like I said, until I'm subpoenaed and I'm like, damn, this really did happen.
Right. Oh, so you didn't even even after the fact, you didn't even follow the news or anything to know what was transpiring throughout the whole almost 2 years before she
Yeah,
even
no,
went to trial.
right, nothing like that. So I don't like watching the news, and like I don't keep up on the Facebook drama and the Snapchat drama and all this other bullshit that's going on. I'm pretty I don't know how you'd want to say it, but pretty basic guy that just you know sticks to his own out here in the country, does country guy stuff, and lets the world just pass by, as much as I can,
Mm-hmm.
living the lifestyle that I lived at the time, and so I know. So I didn't even know that this was like a factual thing until I got subpoenaed to court.
Well,
Like so because people, like I said before, people like to fabricate things and make things up and get other people involved, and so it's just like I don't even want to fucking waste the energy to distinguish the difference between what's truth and what's just being pulled out of somebody's ass somewhere. I would just rather live my life and go with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. So when they took you into the courtroom,
Yeah.
and you seen Ashley,
Yeah.
because I mean she's told me numerous times that you saved her life. She really believes that you saved her life because um, but when you got on the stand, do you recall what questions Lori did ask you?
Asked me how I knew that. She's like, "How do you know my defendant?" And I was just like, I was introduced to her through Garrett the evening that they came out to my farm. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And how long was they there? I was like, I mean, a matter of hours. You know, maybe a strong 24 hours. You know, okay. And how do you know Garrett? And so it was just like, you know, she was like, "So how was Ashley behaving?" She asked me about Ashley's behavior, and she, you know, obviously I told them the same thing I told you about how she told Angel that she was trying to get away from Garrett and couldn't. And that's when Angel told me that, hey, Garrett's, you know, holding Ashley against her will, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then all at the same time is when the news came on and they're talking about some murder up in Newton County. And, you know, a guy that's living that lifestyle that I was, you know, I was high all the time. It was just like, oh, damn, you know, so it was hard to process things that was like, what's real? What's really going on? What's the reality? What's in the moment right now? What's really going on? What's happening? All I know is that Ashley wants to get away from Garrett, and I don't give a fuck about the rest. Garrett's leaving, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
that's,
Did
what
you
we made
did
happen.
when Angel told you and
Yeah.
you seen Garrett like reaching over the couch and pulling her?
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I mean, did you really feel that she was in danger, or do you feel that she was being paranoid, or did you see a side of Garrett at that point that you had not seen before? I don't know.
I just seen somebody, like, when I seen it on the outside looking in, like looking back on it now, I see some like possessive asshole boyfriend that's now going out there to confront Ashley to ask her what he just said to Angel for Angel to come to me. Like he was wanting to know, you know what I mean? Like his demeanor, he was wanting to know what was said. You know what I mean?
Right.
He wasn't being nice about it. He wasn't just like, hey babe, so what'd you go in there? So what did Angel go in there and tell Jeff? You know?
Right.
It wasn't nothing like that. It wasn't like, hey, how you doing out here? Everything okay? You need a blanket? You need something to drink? No. It was more like, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are they off in the other corner and now they're looking at us weird? That's how it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. I just
right.
I've like putting it all together. I'm just curious as I wish there was a timeline, like a better timeline, like when he had Nicole out there,
Yeah.
because that was literally around the time of Ray's death.
Okay.
And, there is some factual information that Nicole was present with him at
Yeah.
Ray's. And I'm,
Okay.
it seems peculiar to me that he would pop up with Nicole out of nowhere around that time frame and
Right.
after a murder, and then turn around and do the same thing after Nicole's murder, kind of like without your knowledge, kind of using your house because it was so far away from where these things happened as kind of like a refuge. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go out here to my buddies because no one's going to be looking for us out here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
I mean,
Ashley,
yeah, looking back at it, hindsight, yeah, that makes sense, you know, but at the time, I just took it as like, hey, my buddy from jail hit me up. He's going to come out and we're going to fucking, you know. So, but what you're saying does, puts things into perspective, right?
right, right. I mean, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can't there at the moment, until I get the phone records and stuff like that. But that's just that's my angle on it right now. But
right.
when he was there with Nicole, how was he treating Nicole okay? Or do you recall any kind of conversations about him and who this girl was? Was it someone that he claimed he cared about, or what was? Do you
I mean, to
remember?
be brutally honest, he was like, "Yeah, we're just hanging out. We've been fucking," and that's probably about the extent of it. He said that she was somebody else's boyfriend or girlfriend. This is how he said it. So they was hanging out and moving around.
Gotcha.
Well, her boyfriend obviously didn't know about it. I was like,
Right.
damn, bro, that's kind of fucked up.
Right.
But whatever, you guys do you. You know what I mean? I'm not playing detective here. I'm not. Because you don't think that in the back of your head when somebody shows up, like, you think that they killed anybody before they come out?
Right. No, you don't. You're
Like, you know
right.
what I mean? That's not on the fucking application for you to come and hang out with me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's not like, oh, okay, so before you come out, do you have any felony warrants? And are you in possession of any felonies?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just not shit that this doesn't go through your head. Because truthfully, I've got a pocket full of felonies, and I really don't give a fuck whether you get ran up on it or not. Because I know what my intentions are, and I know that seems kind of naive, but I just expect people to carry themselves in the same manner as what I do. And, uh, when you put your expectations like that into people, you'll always be let down.
Right.
Always be let down. So it's just not like, I don't know, man. There's so much that now looking back, when you get a little bit of more information and you get a little bit more information and then you get just a little bit more information, you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, it's this
you
whole
know,
this whole thing is really it's twisted, and
yeah,
it's been hard to unravel, just getting, because you know when you've got a handful of people involved, and it's just really hard to get people to talk. So
right.
I have to go based
Yeah,
on, I've had to dig under rocks, and you know Ashley's had to, you know because they're, I guess, going through day-to-day life, you just don't think that, okay, what I'm doing right at this moment is going to matter 3 days from now. So, like, when I'm
right,
like, "Well,
exactly.
how did you get there?" She's like, "I don't remember who took us and dropped us off." And we've
Yeah.
literally had to pick her brain, and she gets so upset with herself, like, just the whole thing, and she uh,
Well, people like, there's cops that have a job to do, right? And what's being on the other side of the fence of like, I've been in trouble once or twice, and cops don't take anything that you say as credible. So when you're sitting there trying to tell them, I was in a high stress fucking situation, and you want me to recall these events and this event and that event and moment by moment. No, what the fuck you're trying to do to me, man, is you're trying to get me mixed up on my times so in that way you can come back and you can try to discredit me. That's all that you're trying to do. So why can't you just be a good fucking cop, do your job right the first time, and we can move forward? So that
Mhm.
that would be a lot. That'd be way easier in life. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and the fact that she was out there, and I know, I remember her, and I don't know if you recall this, but because she was obviously confused on those days. For her, were literally all running together. Um,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
she knows that, she told me about you, and I
Yeah,
looked it up, and I did see that you were in the you were in there, as far as you were being transported,
right.
in her case. But she had, stated that she had, I guess, she said the first thing that you did after Garrett left was you seen to it that she could use the phone, because I guess she didn't have a working phone that she could actually call on. And,
Yeah,
she said she called her grandma,
yeah,
and, her grandma's very old, and her
yeah,
grandma had her son, and her grandma was basically like, "Where are you?" I guess they had been
yeah,
looking for her because she
yeah,
just disappeared.
yeah.
And, her grandma was upset, and Ashley, and getting to know her the way that I have, if she thinks that you're upset with her, she's not going to say anything to upset you more. So she was like, "My
Right.
grandma was upset, and she had Chevy," which is her son,
Yeah.
and she didn't wanna, I how far is that from her grandmother lived, I guess, Delphi area, Lafayette area. From where you
Yeah.
were at that time, how far was that?
It takes us about 45 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe I mean, yeah, about 45 minutes north of us. So,
Okay. So her being that
yeah.
far away and having to get back, and then, of course, she's talking to her family, and they're like, "You need." She was trying. I think she was trying to get a ride back to Kentland from Lafayette, because Kentland is where it happened. But her dad was at work. Her grandma, I think, I just really feel like her grandma was so upset with her because she had been gone, and
Yeah.
all she said that she could tell her grandma was Grandma Garrett did a really bad thing, and her grandma wanted to know what, and she's like, I can't tell you right now, but she called her dad and told her dad, and her dad was like, "You get your freaking butt to the police station."
Right.
And, she did, um, and I know now that looking back, there was nothing that she could do as far as she was just, I feel, going with the flow as far as being complicit with Garrett with whatever he told her to do to not
Well,
piss
here,
him.
check this out. Check this out. Put yourself in her situation,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
mean, that's what you got to ask people. Put yourself in her situation. Put yourself in, like, that this guy done some really fucked up shit. He comes, forces you to leave, to go somewhere. What are you going to do? Are you going to resist him to try to piss him off even more? Or are you just going to try to go with the flow and let's see how this plays out? Maybe I can get away from you here in a minute. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's what she did. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and, um, so wow.
Yeah. So she didn't use my phone that night. She didn't use my phone that night. So I'm like, uh, I think maybe she may have used one of Angel's phones at that time.
Mhm.
You know,
I know that she
uh,
used somebody's phone because she said
she did.
she got a phone,
She,
and
yeah,
her grandmother, her grandma, I've talked to her extensively, and her grandma's been very upset about that because she's like, because her grandma said that, I was upset, and, I didn't want to drive the distance because that's for someone her age. I mean, she's like
yeah,
84 now.
right, right,
She was like, she didn't want to drive. And she said, "I wish to God I would have now if I would have known the real circumstances of what the situation was." And she even still beats herself up now for the fact that they all forced her to go in without an attorney. Um,
okay.
so yeah.
I
And
mean, her grandma was upset about coming and getting her from where?
I think your house, because Ashley got a hold of her, and she was trying. This was before, I guess, you took her home. She called her grandma
Okay,
because Garrett took her
right, yeah,
from that area. Like, he showed up at her house, and I think she walked across the street to a friend's house to get away from him, and he came over there and
okay,
physically beat her up again. This was, and he's got a restraining order on him. He had a restraining order on him from doing it before, and they had let him out,
right,
and then he had violated the restraining order, and they let
yeah,
him out.
for sure,
So when he beat her up this other time, this was the 25th. He ended up taking her to it's weird. He beat her up, and then he took her to the hospital. And
right,
we do have the emergency room visit from that.
yeah,
So, from that point, he never took her back home. And
right,
she was trying to get back home, but I think she was also trying, like, "I wanna go home. Can you take me home now?" And it would always be, "I'll take you home later. When I get back, I'll take you home." So, it
right,
was ki but hindsight's 2020, she had no idea to see what was coming.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
So,
Yeah, I get all that.
yeah. So any
So I knew that she had contacted her grandma to let her know that she was okay, and stuff. So I just didn't know that she was trying to get her out this way.